What is the importance of Analuate in your school? Well, first of all, what the heck is Analuate? And is it even a word? Hi again, everybody. Sharon Brown here, curriculum innovator, professional developer, and instructional leadership coach. And by now, you should be well on your way to revealing and removing the obvious but untapped secret to increasing critical thinking skills at your school with the 3 complimentary instructional leadership coaching videos you've already received and the Common Language, Common Understanding Professional Learning Package. If you took that major success step to get the package, be sure to go through it and note your questions because in a few weeks I'll be hosting the Q&A webinar and you want to be ready for that with your questions to maximize your delivery of your connecting critical thinking, clear teaching, and student growth professional learning sessions. But for now, let's get back to the question of what is Analuate and why is it important in your school? Well, let me tell you, it's a word that I came up with a couple of years ago because I noticed how easy it is to take what's common for granted. I noticed in coaching session after coaching session with both the school leaders and teachers that while there was common use of those terms in relation to student thinking, there was not a common understanding, and it became abundantly clear when at a group coaching session with principals and assistant principals, one of the leaders asked, "Hey, Dr. B, what's the difference between analyze and evaluate?" I'm so glad the leader was brave enough to ask the question because one, it was a question quite a few others around the table had but were reluctant to ask. And two, the question affirmed a hypothesis I developed based on years of classroom observations and coaching sessions. And that was the reason why student learning and achievement results do not align with all of the hard work on the part of teachers and leaders day in and day out was because of unclear expectations about what students should be able to do when they analyze and what they should be able to do when they evaluate. That question on that day a few years ago affirmed my hypothesis, and that's what led me to create the term Analuate. Analuate is a hybrid of the words analyze and evaluate. But note, they aren't just words. They are cognitive processes that we want students to engage in. And so in order for student thinking to align with student learning and then show up in student achievement results, what teachers ask students to do in learning activities must support the thinking processes in their objectives and the standards. Now, before I go on, let me give you an example of how I've seen and possibly how you've seen the misinterpretation of these cognitive processes in action. I observed a math class where the objective indicated that students were supposed to be analyzing the errors they made on their tests they had previously taken. After about 2 minutes, it occurred to me that students weren't analyzing anything. Instead, they were simply redoing the problems they got wrong. There was no analysis happening. The other example recurs every time I'm with a group of math teachers. The same discussion happens time after time when math teachers work hard to convince me that in math, evaluate means to solve a problem. Now, I understand why a math teacher would say that, but the reality is that to evaluate does not mean to solve. You most certainly evaluate while you are solving a problem, but evaluate does not mean to solve. So let's get to it. When we ask students to analyze, we are asking them to break down information into parts and determine how the parts relate to each other and to the overall structure of the purpose of the whole. And so if students were analyzing for errors, they would have been breaking down the problem into parts, finding what part was wrong, and showing how the one or multiple wrong parts contributed to their whole result being wrong. Then you might have them redo the problem once they were able to show where they went wrong in the parts to demonstrate that they now understand the parts of the process in relation to the whole. As for evaluate, when we ask students to evaluate, we are in essence asking them to use criteria and standards to make judgments. So really, when students are solving a problem or even making a decision while evaluating, they are checking, monitoring, critiquing, and judging along the way using a set of established standards or criteria. 21st century standards require students to do some variation of analysis and evaluation often. So it is very important that instructional planning and delivery match what the cognitive processes require. In the 3 complimentary instructional leadership coaching videos I gave you, professional learning action steps for introducing and using the elements of thought. And if you got the professional learning package, you also got the bonus pack that includes tools and tips for using the elements of thought and the standards of thinking, right? Well, in the next few videos I send you, I'm going to give you even more tools for how to use the thought elements to have students analyze and how to use the standards for thinking to have students evaluate. So stay tuned. But for now, as you charge out into those classrooms, slow down, reflect on your observation notes, and ask yourself, when the objective indicates analysis, are the students breaking down the whole into parts to find relationships? And when the objective indicates evaluate, are the students judging with criteria? Getting clear about the answer to those 2 questions are important for the success you want to see at your school because they'll set you on the track to ensure that student thinking aligns with student learning. So I'll be back to help you think through them with coaching tips for your teachers. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. So go ahead and share them in the comment section below. I'll personally read every one of them and respond to as many as I can. Thanks for allowing me to serve you in this way, and I'll be back with more next time.